Welcome to Total Disclosure across all platforms where we explore the mysteries of the unknown. From conspiracy theories to sightings across the world, we dive deep into the unexplained occurrences in our skies and on the ground. If you're passionate about exploring the unknown and are intrigued by the possibility of extraterrestrial life and it already being here, then you're in the right place. Don't forget, hit that like button, share with your friends, your family, the Greys, the Nordics. We don't care. We don't play prejudice. And don't forget to click the subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our latest videos. That's if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, remember, leave a 5-star rating as well as on Apple. You can leave a written review. It truly helps us tremendously and it's free. What are you waiting for? If you'd like to support the show further, become a member on either YouTube or Spotify. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can get ad-free content, bonus material, and segments, early access to interviews like the one you're about to see, and a yearly gift after 12 months consecutive membership, autographed by our team as well. We thank you in advance. Now let's get to exploring the unknown together.
Making a blanket statement to cover the entire UFO phenomenon over the past 20 years.
Right, guys, like I said, welcome back to Total Disclosure. I am your host, Ty, and I'm the creator of TDP Studios and Total Disclosure Podcast. Today, we have Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, and I wanted to say this. This interview, what we're about to do, it was like synchronicity. I know we talk about that in the community. I had been searching for somebody who had a background in what we're about to discuss. Now, I was searching avidly for someone who I thought would be a good fit for the show and introducing our audience to the ideas. Now, I'm going to read a little something, and this is from Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. So, her mission is to empower each individual to activate their innate abilities to reconnect with their authentic self by unveiling the intricate rules of the universe, shedding light on concealed truths about our reality, offering insights into other realms, and providing the tools and knowledge needed to liberate your potential. Together, we pave the way for you to manifest your magical dream life here and now. Welcome to a journey of self discovery and boundless creation. Dr. Kimberly has an extraordinary ability to time weave your timelines into the optimal and highest ones just by speaking to you. So today, we're going to get that for free. It's going to be amazing. I don't know how that works. I don't know what that means, but we're going to get it. But because I'm speaking to her, she radically alters your reality by the frequency she holds and her presence of being. Dr. Kimberly is an internationally known consultant and inventor of medical technology, including technology that is frequency based. With her own process, she is able to imbue, I don't know if I'm saying that right, frequencies into anything, including images. All of our pictures have been well, all of their pictures have been extensively tested with quantum technology, and they use these themselves. They use technology to scan all aspects of your lives, including the beliefs and programming that are holding you back from creating anything you ever wanted. Kimberly, it is so great to have you.
Thank you.
I don't even
Change
know
that.
where to.
That's a little bit too high expectations there, Ty. I need to lower those expectations, I think, on my bio. But go ahead.
Well, that was that. I mean, that was fun to read. I mean, more or less, that's your life, right? And some say my life. I get to talk to people like you. What could be so bad about that? But let me ask you the first question. I think I ask every guest: What
Okay.
got you to this seat right now, talking to me, what 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 set you on the path?
It's funny. I really have to say it was a natural inclination and interest, much like it probably was with you at some point. I used to go when I was, very young, 6, 7, 8, to the library, and I would check out books about Bigfoot and the Loch Ness monster and UFOs. And I just had this fascination. My this is telling my age, you guys, but my grandparents used to give my brother and I $10 way back in the day, where it actually went somewhere. And we go
You
to
could buy
Toys
a
R Us,
stick.
which is now
Yeah.
bankrupt, which is also telling my age.
Actually, they're coming back, by the
Are
way.
they? I love Toys
Side
R Us.
side note, yes, Toys R Us is making a comeback.
I love that. Toys R Us is like fantasy, this huge big warehouse. And, I wanted to spend my $10, of course, on a Ouija board. So again, always, drawn to the supernatural and, the mysterious. And I had abilities. And at that time, when I was that age, I thought everybody had those abilities. So how would I know that everybody didn't see, portals in their ceiling and didn't have beings coming in their room and didn't go down quantum tunnels and didn't see ETs guarding gates and didn't go into strange worlds? How was I to know everybody doesn't do
You
that?
just be because I mean, for all intensive purposes, you're a child, right? We're growing into this world, right? That we're still learning, touching, and you're seeing through the veil, thinking everyone else, well, this just happens to everybody.
Yeah,
They can all see all this stuff too. There's no need to talk about it because everybody sees it.
exactly. So, once you go to school, you're quickly disavowed of any such nonsense notions that anybody is
Yes.
remotely like you. So I kind of shut it down. Growing up in a very religious home, my dad's a pastor. You learn, you're programmed actually in church, that these things are satanic or evil,
Yes. Yes.
and you get very confused. And
Very.
in a way, I liken it to, I really have a lot of compassion for this, sexual identity crisis, because these gifts are so severe, or they used to be, especially years ago. Thankfully, Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, all the paranormal
Mm,
shows have really
mm.
done us such a great service in bringing forth the paranormal as pop culture, accepted. But back then, it was something to be ashamed of. If you believed in any of this stuff, even ghosts, you guys, back when I grew up, it brought deep shame. And whenever we're ashamed of something, we
Not
bury it.
even yeah, not even just to the person, but say you had a spouse or a kids. That stigma would not only, especially your profession, like whatever you were in, God forbid you're in a public facing, capacity. That stigma was not only put on you, but your children, your spouse, and anyone in your family. So then they would start to distance themselves from said person, and that causes families to break apart. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've seen that firsthand.
Oh, definitely. And I'm still the black sheep of the family. I'm the only person in the family where they never ask about my job or career, because they're afraid. They're afraid of what I might say that would disrupt their narrow view of reality. They don't want their reality challenged. They don't want to feel, uncomfortable. Although I no longer feel uncomfortable. I'm perfectly okay and proud of who I am. You still, even now, even in today's age, where a lot of people are very awake and open, there's still a discomfort. I don't know if you ever run into it,
I
discussing in
do.
public with anyone, but there's still a stigma, still a discomfort around it. But long story short, in college, when I got away from my able to bring forth my abilities in again entertaining ways, is my boyfriend going to ask me to marry him? Am I going to get this job? Am I going to pass this test? And I became known for having super high accuracy in my predictions, as they called them, and I drew the attention of local law enforcement. um, I functioned a lot like the show Medium, in a lighter way, of course, very underpaid. I thought it would be very, very I thought it would be very, very glamorous to work with law enforcement. It's not. It's very horrifying, and there's a lot of stigma, even when the police department is open to that skill and they're playing with
There's
it. There's a lot of
still
people aren't, and so yeah, so when you're 20, when you're
Can
20
I ask
years
you?
old, finding dead animals and dead baby bones, it's just not a lot of fun, you guys. It really isn't, so
Can
uh
I ask you a question?
yeah, go ahead.
So when law enforcement, so you're basically what you're saying is law enforcement recruited your help and then kind of mocked you
Oh,
in a way,
totally. Yeah, because it
but
wasn't
you
like
were
the
coming up
perfect
with
coach.
results.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm bringing them the information that they hired me for with almost 100% accuracy very quickly, cutting them a lot of man hours and manpower and time and detective work. And, you know,
And
I
risk.
think detective work isn't glamorous either. There's a lot of talking and researching, not so much boots on the ground,
Yeah,
finding
it's
dead
not
bodies type of
yeah,
things.
it's not what the TV shows
Right.
depict it as. And
Right.
what's funny is Stephen Bassett invited me to be a founding member of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. And
Oh,
um what that is basically facilitating between directors in Hollywood, talent in Hollywood, and our group to basically get more realistic stories told,
wow.
something that's closer to the truth. Maybe at least on my aspect, I really want to do a remake of or a continuation of the series Project Blue Book because I thought they had such a good idea. It just maybe didn't come to fruition the way we wanted. But if we can get more Hollywood elites talking and making films about this, then we see every day how the media influences people. So that I mean that's one way to attack disclosure from that from
That
one
I like
aspect,
a more
right?
realistic, truthful, uh,
Right.
read would be nice.
Instead of alien invasion stories, why don't we cuz the truth is often better as we see with Mick West, right? And his debunks. Sometimes his mundane debunks are more out there than the actual truth, right?
Right.
The simple truth of a UFO being seen. So, why don't we tell the real stories? Cuz they're just as if not more compelling than what someone AI or some writer could come up with. Like we need to tell the story of Betty and Barney Hill, Travis Walton, and we need to do that in a way that isn't sensationalized and changed and um Hollywoodized. So
Yeah, I
sorry,
like that. No, no, that's
sorry,
great. That's a great point. It's
but
so funny you mentioned that though, because I thought I knew what I knew, but once we brought quantum accurate technology into things and started scanning people's fields where you hold your memory, the truth is way stranger than fiction, like you're saying, it really is.
it's and that's the stuff I want to get into. Clearly you have a knack for what we would call remote viewing or Um, I mean, is there a better word for it?
It's interesting. I feel when you even say that, and maybe you do too, and that's why you paused and you even asked that question. I feel like remote is an outdated term for
It
it. It
is.
feels like
It
an
is.
older energy, like it doesn't quite really if we were all aware and in touch with I don't have any abilities different than any other, eternal living being has. Just
Right.
access and development to me is the two differences. But I would say remote viewing is really the ability to go out of your body in a way, almost by locate, trilocate, send a part of your consciousness out kind of as like a scout and find any information. You can do it visually, but I also do it by having conversations with beings. Is that remote viewing? I think that's more than remote viewing. If I can go actually converse in real time with the people or beings that are there. I mean, I think that's more than remote viewing, and we all have that ability. Really, what we're
Absolutely.
not told is all information because time is non local, so there is no time. All time is now and now and now and now. We all have the ability to go past, present, future and find out any information anywhere, anytime, or being. And yeah, you might be lied to, but again, that's a skill we innately have to discern the frequency of truth. Truth has a frequency. And so that's when discernment comes in, to what you're doing and who you're talking to. But certainly, I think that's a limiting word to what I do, at least at this point. Maybe
Uh,
originally when I started out, it was remote viewing because I was triggered by sounds, I was triggered by sirens. And then I would watch a movie scene of that siren. So maybe that's more standardized remote viewing. I wasn't interacting with, but now I think what I do is way bigger than remote viewing.
wow. That's amazing. So you're coming up with these, you're turning police's job easier. You're you've been now recruited, not recruited, but brought in by law enforcement. They're pretty legitimate. I mean, it's not glamorous by any means, like you said,
Not
but
glamorous.
it's definitely something that is out of the norm, if you will. So from there, um, obviously you worked on your abilities, and you now know that there's something to this, right? Like, you have an ability. So what happens next? I mean, clearly you've entered a whole new world, literally. And these gifts just didn't miraculously turn on one day. So talk to me about that. Talk to me how this all came together. How did you go from working with law enforcement to doing what you do now?
Right. So I guess the law enforcement provided me what I encourage everyone to do, which is people are like, what classes do I take? What books do I read to become a remote viewer, to become a psychic? And I always say, whoa, whoa, stop. Because we're all born the easiest accessible psychic ability, or, outside the five senses ability, is actually what I would call we all have a knowing, we all have these gut feelings. Some people might call it intuition, but I would pull it even more base back from that. And so to me, it was what law enforcement and college provided to me, that my skills were able to be developed and expanded, is it provided what I call the bounce. So if my daughter walks in and I'm like, oh my gosh, she should go a different way to work today, and I don't say that to her, I just repress it. I don't have the bounce. So let's say she does go to a different way to
Right.
work, and she's like, I don't know why you said that. Nothing happened the other way. Or maybe she comes home and says, guess what, mom? There was an 8-car pileup exactly at the time I would have been going the other way. That's what I call a bounce. So as humans, when we get positive feedback, we step up on that. We stand up on that, and we stand up on that. So because I was able to say, okay, if you go to this street and this abandoned house and it looks like this, and there's a big oak tree on the left and there's 3 pines on the right and there's a red truck parked behind, and they go there and they find a cult activity, or they find fires and remnants of animal sacrifice, that's a
Right.
bounce for me. So then the next time
Yeah.
do something, whether it's personal to family members, whether it's for myself, or whether it's for law enforcement or friends, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to have that double confidence. I'm going to stand up on that and I'm going to speak it. And so, guess what? We also learn by doing that. We also get the feedback of our quote mistakes. So I am like,
Right.
oh, there was another gray house that was on the street next door, and I got them confused. So then we
Hmm.
refine our abilities. We start to understand how information, seeing, smelling, tasting, experiencing. And then we refine our words. We refine the ways that we present it to other people in a way that they can use that information. So there's many, many, many amazing psychics and people with psychic abilities, but half of it is we don't use them. It does take refinement. It does take practice. So I got that in college and with law enforcement. After that, how I got it was I started doing house clearings with my oldest daughter. And again, I got the
Can
bounce, I got that
can
real in person interaction. Go ahead.
so for any of us that aren't familiar with what a house cleaning is, I'm assuming it is not you going into the house and cleaning it with a broom.
Right. In a way it
Um,
is. In a way it is.
well,
In a way, the
it,
energy,
well,
energetically it is. It's exactly just as you would clean. as you would say, a house, as a house cleaner, we go in and we clear the beings in the house. We clear any negative beings. Sometimes people want all human discarnates out of their house. So then we kick all the human discarnates. We kick out the little people. We kick out the fae. Align the Hartman lines or the negative ley lines or the all the weird things, the portals, open and close portals, negative portals, neutral portals, positive portals. We deal with all that stuff. And it changes negative event imprints, not just of what you think, like we always talk about, like a robbery or a rape or a murder, although
Right.
sometimes that's there, or a suicide or a death. I don't see death as anything negative, so I don't see that as a negative imprint. But also, which is so interesting, what we don't think about is who built your house, you guys. Who built your house? Did an alcoholic build your house? Did a violent man build your house? Did a drug addict build your house? Was there fighting on even the construction
Mm.
people that built the house? So we go way back and we look at the history of the land, and we clear all the builders' energy, we clear any previous tenants or owners' energy. So there's a lot to this. It's not as simple as, you would think. There's a lot to the energy. Guess what? The house, it has its own personality. It has its own energy. So then we also interact with the energy of the house specification. I want to have better health. I want to have more prosperity. And then I don't do everything in the world. I don't know everything. So then I bring in people that know things like feng shui, how to bring in the positive and rearrange the, energy in each room. I don't particularly do that,
Wow.
a little bit, but so
Wow.
we clear it and then we tweak it as the frequency so the people are there more prosperous, happier, and healthier. That's a house clearing and land clearing to me.
Wow. That's that is that's something I find that's interesting, to say the least, because I mean, a lot of people for a long time have said that, houses, or buildings, or just any structure that we make. I mean, think about it. It's we're all made of atoms, and these things hold memory. They hold energy and frequency, like you said, and um, that's why I believe that, certain places or certain areas of the earth, say Skinwalker Ranch,
Sure.
harbor the energies that they do. Um, and it's it's funny. It's ironic, because I started seeking someone like you right after I did this sound bath.
Hmm.
Um, and the sound bath was the most intense meditation experience that I've ever had. And, there's a lot of frequency involved with it, right? Noise and frequency. And I was wondering if you could shed any light on that. Like, what, why is that? Because I meditate all the time. And
Oh,
I
wonderful.
find, I find it hard to clear my mind.
Mhm.
Um, and when I was in that room with the sound bath, it brought me to another place. Like, I finally achieved what I've been looking to achieve, and the woman that was administering it, she even knew, because she knew, like, I was the only one in the room. Um, I went very still. My heart rate, but like my hands and feet were super, super still. My eyes closed, but she could see that they were moving a million miles an hour, and that, like, my heart rate was up. And when I came out of it, I sat straight up, and she, like, coached me, like,
Mm.
breathing wise, to get back up and not fall over, apparently. um so the whole experience for me was out of this world. Now, can you offer some insight in as to why that was?
Yeah, so I mean, you just said it. I mean, we're all like coloring is like color and sound. So we are frequency, and I don't know her particular abilities, but when I remote view your session, whatever frequency she was playing, literally kind of threw you out of your body and took you to a different place. And sound is able to do that, raise or lower our vibration, our frequency, to assist us to more easily
Hmm.
remote view or out of body, or some people levitate. Some people use different
Literally?
sounds. Yeah, I have a client who literally levitates off her bed pretty regularly. Um,
I'm gonna create a marker there because I have a question that I want to ask based on that. But keep going.
I'm not at all surprised. Also, I mean, I was kind of looking at your energy, really briefly already. I was just kind of cheating. I was looking at your energy through my technology, and you're just very, you're a soul collective. You're a number of different ET races, so you're very on the edge. You're primed to have those experiences. So you would be a person that would go to a medicine ceremony. I'm sure you would go out of body there too. You're a person I call on the edge. If with a little bit of tweaking, it would be totally conscious. So you could go out of body at will. You could do all these things at will because you're like so right there in your frequency. Like you're so, in between worlds, or definitely higher than 3D. You're much, much higher than a 3D frequency. So you have a lot more
You're
access.
speaking. You're
Go ahead.
speaking of me.
Yes, you yourself, exactly you, not the generic you, Ty, not the audience.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And you got okay. I like that. I like how that sounds because um, it this isn't just a podcast. I mean, this is a way for me to like I went down this path because something changed.
Hmm,
In in this very room,
hmm.
this is my mother right here.
Aw,
Um and her ashes are around my neck.
I love it.
She died
Aw,
in this room. Um I'm staying here temporarily. And, I try to bring a lot of positive energy into this room because, it is where she lived her whole, I mean, this is her room. She lived here, but then she also died in here. And, I've had some experiences lately that I can only quantify as something not, not not black and white like we're taught the earth is. Because when we're growing up, we're taught that everything's really black and white, right? Like this object is here, right? I can touch it, feel it,
yep,
black and white, right?
yep.
Here's your history book, here's history, here's your math book, here's math. But there's so much gray because in that room, the day she died, something left. I watched it leave this very room. And that's the day I went from being
Oh,
Ty
wow.
the pop culture guy to being
Wow.
Ty the
Wow.
and I have had a UFO sighting. I had a UFO sighting outside this house when I was 10. So here there's just a lot of just so I get that it's really amazing that you got all that cuz
Well, yeah,
I
you're
am on
on
that
that.
edge.
That's where you stand. You stand like with one foot in 3D and one foot in like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12D. Like you're right there. That's where your frequency is literally right now. It's interesting you bring up your mother because immediately, I wish I would have said this before you said all that, because uh,
Oh.
immediately when I came into your presence, when we first started talking, I felt this like huge warmth like in my heart. Like there's just such a warmth in that room. And don't be offended, but I didn't particularly feel it coming directly from like you to me. I really felt it in the space you were in. Like there's just such a big warm heart feeling in that space that you're sitting in. So that must be your mom's presence.
It's I wish I had said this. The sound bath lady said something similar, not similar in the sense that this feeling of warmth, but she said that when I came into the room, it was like I was searching for this only what she could describe as motherly
Mm,
energy. And I found it. I found it in that room through that
wow.
meditation. So it's very weird that all these things are lining up now. So you just like capped off a 2 to 3 week process where my mind is constantly being blown. And like, I'm just, all right, whew, God, I'm,
Sorry.
my heart rate's like raised about
Aw,
20 beats per second. Yeah. But back to you. And to mom and if you are if you can hear me and
she
this
can.
goes to anyone I will always love you, and I will always do the right thing by you and for you to to create a legacy that this family definitely needs, and it is we may be fractured right now, but not for long, if I was saying it. So, um, yeah. So you you have this bio about healing. I'm looking at it right now. So, a quantum energy healer, a frequency master, um, I don't know if I'm saying this right, naturopathic doctor, and you're a remote viewer. We've
Yeah,
already talked about that. Those are all words that you can use to describe you. Um, can you get into what some of these are? What is a quantum energy healer, a frequency master, and how does one learn? Now, I'm sure it derives from what we've been talking about, but what are these things for people that don't understand? Because when people think of medicine, they think of, you know, going to Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, or whatever, all hospital, Boston Medical Center, and getting treated.
sure. And I used to have a clinical practice in every most people are familiar with alternative medicine, and I used to hand out a lot of supplements and vitamins and natural remedies and do a lot of covered um, you know, both I used to have 2 biomeridian machines and I had 4 clinics in Ohio and I saw people in person day after day. So people are more familiar with that instead of a doctor, like a natural doctor. Um, Starting to incorporate energy medicine into my practice. And as I did, I became just very, very good at it. I didn't know I was good at it. Now I believe it's a memory. I believe it's what I've done throughout years.
Centuries.
Yeah, centuries, both here in
Yeah.
what I call the game and outside of the game. As a matter of fact, I've come to find out in my travels and in my uh, interaction with ETs, which is a whole other story, and different federations and different councils I'm on, that I am known throughout many galaxies, 6 galaxies, as a master healer. At times, I'm the only one allowed on planets
No fucking way.
to heal or teach or um, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a nurse or a doctor. It's funny, I ended up being, kind of a little bit ahead of my time, a little bit of a way shower. Now frequency is a buzzword. You guys, 10 years ago, I was one of the first people uttering the word frequency on podcasts and on telesummits and publicly. I had to explain what it is. And for those of you that don't know what it is, and now we're getting interfered with, of course, a little bit too, but
I
um,
saw.
you know, we're powers. So every single thing happening in your field, diseases, parasites, bacteria, fungus, virus, thoughts, beliefs, memories, since you came out it's
Mm,
all in your energy field. Your thoughts are frequencies. The frequency for love is always the same. The frequency for jealousy is always the same. The frequency for a certain kind of parasite is always the same. They have numbers. They have numbers like 345.32, and then a different type of parasite would be 345.47, and they're in ranges. And so I always say we are the technology. AI is a big thing. And I always say we are the technology, but we have this equipment that can, because they're radio waves, you guys. And just as we're talking through this medium, I call it Black Mirror
mhm.
technology, but still through this medium, it's because of radio waves and frequency. So it's the same thing we are. And so this quantum tech that we have now that they allow us to have, thank goodness, just picks up these radio waves and it matches. It said love is coming on, and it puts it together in longer sentences than that into beliefs and programs and all sorts of things. But that's basically what it is. So we're both radio, towers. We project, our frequencies out, and then we also we're always receiving everything around us. People are like, I don't have any money in my bank account. I'm like, lift up your hand. It's whizzing by in the air. The bank transfers. Grab some of that $1 million as it goes by you. Exactly. So, that's the
Wait, how do I do that? I'm just
I'll
kidding.
tell
I'm
you
just
I'll tell
kidding.
you a better thing. I'll tell you a better exercise to do. If you believe in past
Um,
life, which I
y-
do,
I
um,
do as well.
easiest thing for you to do is we've all done good things. We'll be 3D about it, black and white. And we've all done bad things. Well, forget about the bad things. We're not going to talk about that today.
Okay.
You so many juicy, amazing, selfless, self-sacrificing, loving things through centuries and centuries and centuries. You have what's called accounts receivable through all time and all space. And even you can borrow from the future
What?
the things you're going to do. So I teach to call in your accounts receivable. So
What?
you ask, you say, anyone out there, hey, it's Christmas. I'd like some more money to buy some presents. Anyone out there that ever, that I did anything nice for? Could you bring me ideas, opportunities, winning lottery tickets, whatever, an opportunity? Could you fill up my bank account? And you could do this not just with money. You could do it with help me find a place to live. You could do it with help me find a new job or a new romantic partner. So you guys have, and I have something really juicy to tell you about yourself before we end. But we have so much soul family
Oh God.
since your second backup. So you have your accounts receivable, which can be strangers and friends and people you knew, but you also have so many soul families that will also assist you, with a lot of your guys' issues. But here's the thing, because of the prime directive, which is a whole nother conversation, they're not allowed to
Right.
barge in your life and like bring you wheelbarrows of money or the love of your life. You have to ask for assistance.
And when you say the prime directive, I'm assuming that's the word that's been thrown around because it's easily translatable in our language to, what we understand as like, because everyone understands that, right? Um,
Right.
I'm
You
hoping
watch
that yeah, exactly. Um, and before we end this, I do want to actually talk about some of the ET stuff. And but but that'll be the second half of the show. Right now I'm really focused on this. But oh God, I just lost my train of thought.
I know that happens to me too. Um,
Oh man, that happens. And you know what? I got an Apple review that said, um, what was it? It had me in quotations as saying, "Lost my train of thought," and then it
that's
said,
funny.
guest is disorganized." I'm like, "You caught me once." Now this is twice. But
They take it. Sometimes it's taken because they want to interrupt the train of
Oh,
thought.
oh, oh, oh. So
So,
before we moved on, I
mhm.
told you that I wanted to ask you a question about this sound, vibration, and
Yes.
frequency
Okay.
being the keys. Um, ancient civilizations, we talk about the pyramids and how they're built and these megalithic structures that make absolutely no sense. Modern day technology couldn't even reproduce them in like even in moderation, like they couldn't even. It's unfathomable. Do you think there is a possibility that they were also masters of this technology, and the reason we don't see evidence of it is because it wasn't a technology that is like this microphone. It's something you use in a different way. It's not technology like we think of. Again, we equate our dialect and our ability to talk about things at the furthest point of our own technology. So anything
Right.
past that becomes magic, right? What they were doing would essentially look like magic. We think bringing a telephone back to them might be magic. Like they would see it as magic. Yeah, vice versa. Is there a possibility?
It's absolute truth. The We know the inner chambers
Oh,
of rooms. So it looks like a room, right? But it's a jump room. Even today, if you knew the right toning or you brought some crystal bowls in there and the right tuning forks, you'd be gone. You'd be gone. You'd be off planet. You'd be
you
wherever
think
that
you
jump
would
room is.
teleport?
Oh, I know you would.
So why aren't we doing stuff
We
like
are
this? Like
doing
these
that. We are
we
doing
the
that. Every Marriott hotel has a jump room. Every Hilton hotel
what?
has a jump room. Every major hospital, gas stations have jump rooms, restaurants have jump rooms. You just have to know which ones. They're all over the entire planet.
What are
And
you
Lockheed Martin has jump rooms. Every
Whoa,
military base
whoa, whoa.
has jump rooms.
Listen, that makes sense. right?
Right.
Lockheed and these
Of
places,
course.
but
Yeah.
not the hotels and gas stations. Where what are these jump rooms?
Jump rooms are literally, and this is why you triggered it. You reminded me with the pyramid technology, because you literally walk into an empty room, you open a door, you walk in a room, and you open the other door, and you walk into Mars, you walk into Venus, you walk into one of the close, what I call ships in our near our orbit. Those are where those jump rooms. Most of the hotel jump rooms lead to Venus or Mars, because the elite, you guys, do not go out and hang out in bunkers. The elite go usually not on a ship. They usually go through jump rooms to Venus, which is a luxury paradise, better than anything on Earth. That's where the elite go.
You understand. I'm gonna get a lot of kickback if I do not ask this question.
I'm
You
used to
do
it.
not you do know how that sounds, correct?
Yeah, it's just I'm just so used to it because of who I know and what I know and who I hang out
No,
with
I
and who I
know,
talk
but do
to.
you know how
It's
that
just
sounds?
normal to me, but I guess it sounds crazy to other people. But yeah, but there's lots of people that know it's true, that are probably some people that would even listen to this know about this. It's
All
not
right.
like a high guarded secret, to be honest.
All right, if anybody
Because this is daytime. This is daytime stuff. This is like eyes wide open. We're not talking about falling asleep at night. We're talking about, how you were saying physical things. We're talking about touchable, physical, daytime stuff going on. Yeah.
wow. All right, listen, if anyone out there can show me where one of these jump rooms is or
I
tell
love it.
me, please, I'll go right now after this show. Um to the to the nearest Marriott or wherever, um, and do this. So what I find fascinating is I do think that not only were ancient civilizations using said technology, but they were masters of it. That's why we see again, we boil these things down and we see the intricate like geometry and astrology and just the insane amount of knowledge that they would need to not only align these pyramids with whatever set of stars, the Giza Strip is Orion's belt. Um, these other megalithic structures are aligned to certain other stars. Typically, the Pleiades are a big one. Um, um, I believe the Dogon tribe, Sirius, but they were famous for knowing Sirius B instead of just the Sirius star that we can see. They knew that there was a star behind it that you couldn't see with the naked eye, or even until telescopes were really developed, we didn't find out that there was a second star there, but they knew this Dogon tribe, this tribe in the middle of nowhere, right? So that brings me to ancient civilizations being in touch with extraterrestrials. Now, we have so many distractions on this planet, whether it be me talking too much or the TV, right? Um, there's so many distractions. Were the ancients in touch with extraterrestrials? And do you think that it was because it was a simpler time?
What I found out through scanning thousands and thousands of soul frequency energies and thousands of beings over the last 10 years is that there's no such thing as human. We are these races. So, of course, we were in touch with our different soul families from the closest star systems and the easy accessible, the Pleiades, the Draco, Orion. A lot of the closed star systems, there are, of course, some of them deliberately came to what I call the game for different purposes, or got caught in the game for being here, mining, medical research, negotiating with the Dracos, who were here a long, 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 long time before a lot of the other races. So when I used to believe that, there was this such thing as a human soul. But now when we look at the energy signatures, there's no such thing as human. We're either one or two or three primary ET star race, because we've all had lives as this soul fragment other places. And some people have memory of that. Some people get it going under like hypnosis and different things. Although that's a huge caution too, because you can get a lot of false information and false implanted information from that. But the memories, I do soul scans with technology, because again, a Draco is always a specific frequency. If you have Draco, and we need to separate the avatar. So we see these human avatars. I call a human someone who has the Adamic for Adam human avatar. That's the model that we're in. So that's the human part, the human avatar. But as far as souls, we're a million different things. We're inner earth beings, and we're dragons, and we're Dracos, and we're Palladians, and we're Arctuarians, and we're um gosh, so many, saurians and mantis and elementals, and the sky's the limit. There's thousands of races that we don't talk about. There's some common ones that we bang, but there's a lot of other ones, obviously. I mean, there's many galaxies.
I mean, just the fragments of it's crazy, and I'll overlay it right now, so anyone watching on YouTube could see. But the James Webb telescope, the picture it took, you know, that is a grain of sand,
Hmm.
right?
I love that.
And what we see in that picture is a thousand million trillion, whatever the biggest, infinite.
Exactly.
There's like infinite amount of galaxies in that picture alone, in one piece of sand in the sky. Imagine, like, to believe that we're alone is to believe that you are in, honestly, naive, and you should, if you want to keep your head buried in the sand, by all means, but the world is evolving past you. And you know
For
what?
sure.
I hate to say it, but um the ones that are going to get left behind are honestly the ones that are thinking this is demonic, thinking this is, because I think through the ages, the names have just changed, right? From fairy to angel and demon to God to alien, extraterrestrial. The name has changed, right, throughout the century. And again, that is there's reasoning behind that. It's we describe things, you know, with our most advanced technology to date. So right now we're calling them extraterrestrial and ETs when, because that's what that's what makes sense to us, right? That's our science fiction. But back then, the Romans, flaming shields, right? What does that sound like? That sounds like a UFO to me. Sounds like a UFO to me. And there's countless of these stories of pre industrial revolution sightings, like a plethora. So many stories that they're painted, they're carved into rock. That's how much they meant, right? So back to ancient civilizations, I think. I mean, do you think that? I mean, there was clearly a flood, right? All religions talk about this.
Yeah, there
Um,
was a flood. However, that's not what formed the Grand Canyon, but there was a flood.
so, any insight on why that flood took place? Was it natural or was it induced as a way to clean the earth?
I believe it was induced from the advanced technology, the plasma rod of God, plasma type of you know, tech that we have even now, we know. Directed energy weapons. I believe it was induced by overuse of the warring that was going on between time in this realm. I think it triggered the way the game was set up, the way the weather was set up. I think it triggered it. I don't know that it was deliberately. I haven't researched it enough to have an opinion on if a wanted it or if a deliberate what we call gods or goddesses wanted it. I don't know the why, but it's pretty consistent with the ET races that I've conversed with. They agree there was a global flood
Yeah.
at some point in earth history, so that's pretty much accepted. Although a lot of people quote, you've probably had people on here that have quoted some of these like different tablets and
Whether it's the
different,
Dead Sea Scrolls
yeah,
or
or Dead Sea
yeah,
Scrolls. A lot of
Vedic.
that stuff, you guys, is planted. I hate to say it's this. Okay, if you guys have ever watched the Hunger Games and you hear the term the game
Oh,
makers,
love it. I love
the
it.
game makers, this is a game realm, and we have game makers, and they plant things. They
This may you're
they
like
do. They
I
plant
did not
dinosaur bones. There is no Tyrannosaurus Rex. Tyrannosaurus Rex, they put together like four different reptilian creatures with some cow bones and some dog bones. Like there's not half this stuff they make up and they tell you what it is. How do you know? Because you aren't tied in. You don't remember because you haven't activated your all time, all space memory. You're living this one little tiny program point of view. Ty, people like you are starting to open up, starting to connect, starting to put the pieces together. But if you just come up along, under the programming, we're told what history is. This is what I encourage my students to even say to me. Who says? Who says the war in the Ukraine is what they're telling you? Most of the war in Ukraine is taking place in the astral. They're reporting on astral battles. How do you guys know that's not true? You don't. You don't know that what I'm saying is crazy because I know people in the Ukraine that tell me there I am looking at the town that they are saying burned down and they're like showing me pictures, you guys. So I'm telling you, if you aren't there at the news or if you don't know somebody's there that you would stake your life on, so much of this stuff is total BS scripted. Yes, some of it's true. I'm not saying all of it. But even in the things that are happening, we know there's war in the Middle East. Half of that's BS. Half of the stuff is staged, the crisis actors, the children. I mean, it's scripted. They want you to be obsessed with anything but what? But remembering who you are, remembering all your
sh-
powers and your superpowers, remembering
be,
how amazing and fun life can be when you create it. Sorry, I went off my
because
directions
no,
there.
no, 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 no. Listen, to a degree, I kind of I understand it. It makes if when you look at it through that guise, it kind of makes sense a little bit. It does. And because reality, like reality, we know reality is I, it's just we I think more like you said, more and more people are coming to this idea or to this topic. And whether it's through UFOs, the paranormal, whatever. More and more people are starting to ask the real hard questions, right? And we know programs existed in the CIA, most likely
Mhm.
still do, like Project Stargate, right? Like MK Ultra. We know that they've tried well, we know that they've most likely successfully controlled the weather. That they can use the weather as a weapon if need be. Like these are all things that you would think would be science fiction, but they're not. They're absolutely real. And direct energy weapons are a huge part of that. Havana syndrome, what Gary Nolan is studying, right? Like direct
That's true.
energy weapons were even a year or two ago laughed at, but
Mhm.
now they are 100% on the table. 100% on the table. 100%. And Gary Nolan is one of the most respected scientists in the community of not just UFOs, but in the community of science. I mean, his reputation takes a little bit of a hit because he's, in the UFO field, but
Right.
he doesn't care. He doesn't. He is a truly special man, and I think that um, you know, if we would allow people like you to work with people like him, to work with people like Jacques Vallée, if we could get you guys all together
Oh, that'd be awesome.
and
I'm all
just
about proof, by the way. I am. I'm all about pictures. I just put a video up on my TikTok of a ship over my house that was blinking multicolored lights to get my attention. I call them ships. You guys call them UFOs. What I'm all about proof. I'm all about,
well, what's the
let's
difference?
you difference. It's just what you call it. I call it ships because I know that they're starships. People call them
Oh,
UFOs. I
oh,
don't think
gotcha, gotcha.
I don't think they're unidentified. If I can identify it as a clear, whether it's our ship or their
Right.
ship or someone else's ship, it's still a ship to me.
Well, what do you think? What do you think about these my lab? Um, Because if there all right, so we're in the second half of the show in about 5 minutes, and the
Okay.
second half of the show is shorter, it's only 30 minutes,
Okay.
but, um, these ET, if my labs are happening, if the US government is at all okay, so they are happening.
Oh, yeah, we see it. My quantum technology is 100% accurate. It's in people's fields. Every person in what I call the game is being taken. What they're being taken for, who they're being taken for, they're being taken by military, they're being taken by corporations, are they being taken by negative ETs? Are they being taken by space program, secret space program? That's we can go down that road. But every single person, you're being taken at night. I'm being taken at night. My children are being every
Me?
babies are being taken at night. Oh yeah, absolutely, 100% being taken at night.
Oh my god.
Well, maybe you don't want to.
Um,
We don't have to talk about that.
no, 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 I do, that's the difference between me and most people is I understand that this field, there is a inherent fear that you have, but I push through because I
Let me
can't.
tell
I
you something that may shock you, and pretty sure you've run across. This is what everyone wants to be. That I am. That I tell people they don't want to be. That you are. You are a super soldier.
what?
You're seen by the military and abducted. You are actually a super soldier, which is what a lot of people in this super soldier community they want to be super soldiers and they're not. But you are actually being used as a super soldier currently by the military, and you have been. They have trillions and billions of dollars invested in you. You have been every single time, every single life, you've been a super soldier. And you've been used as a super soldier with some of these organizations before you even came here to Earth. So you're very in it. You are very in that military um, soldier world yourself, which is why I believe you would attract someone like me to speak, or you would be doing a show like this, because it's not just about your show and your audience. It's also about your own personal spiritual remembering and journey and discovery of who you are through all time and space.
Oh my god. Whoa. Well, I I didn't even I think there's maybe been 1 to 2 times that I've been speechless on the show,
You're so funny.
but
I love it.
so was this juicy thing that you wanted to tell me earlier?
Nothing juicier, in my opinion, than that. Which is,
So
I
there's
was
an
going to tell you what your primary soul signature is. So your soul collective. So your many, almost like I look at them as bubbles, like you're completely a group that functions as one aspect of consciousness, all put in this avatar. Some people, if you want to like drill it down to a really crass way of saying it, it's like multiple possession, but it's all possession of lives that you have lived, races that you have been. It's not like an out, although that's a whole nother show. Everybody gets possessed, including me. Everybody gets jumped. We're not going to talk about that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you believe you are an eternal being, that after you leave this avatar, you go on. This
Mhm.
is the compilation of beings that you have chosen to have actually, like this bottle, the liquid inside this avatar. So bunch of beings, and we're not going to go into the whole thing because this isn't a reading that people might be like, get on with it. We don't care about him. Not saying whether they do or not, but everybody cares about themselves ultimately, right? But what I found so interesting is when I looked at your soul signature, your primary soul signature is what we call a digital immortal being. Now you have a lot of other things, but do you know what a digital immortal being is? I can give you a movie that is a digital immortal being so you can understand exactly how amazing you are and how vast you are and how powerful and tapped you are, because this is 100% of who you are right now. A digital immortal, they made a movie about one of them called Lucy. Have you ever
Oh my
seen that
god.
movie?
Yeah, of course I've
You
seen that movie.
are 100%. The strongest frequency that you're putting out is Lucy. You are a digital immortal being.
I think
I think
I think my
that's,
day has been made.
I
I
know, I
think it
love that for you.
but it explains a lot, and we could talk about this off air. And wow, wow. And so this is what you do? This is
This is
so
just
you
one of like a thousand things I do. I'm also a soul collective. I'm a very expanded being. I have come to refine many, many gifts. And I do read soul signatures. It's one of the things I do. Yes.
right, right. Now, I guess maybe for anyone listening, sorry if that seems like it's about me, but you have to understand you have to understand something. Um, I don't know, it's just something about it. But I guess what they would think or ask if it was them was, how can you read it now over a computer? Like, does it would it not interfere with signals, or how does that work?
No, again, there is no distance or time. Everything,
Is
all
now,
some people
now.
call God, I call the all, everything is on the head of a pin. Everything is all in the same space. It's all illusion that we're separate from other things. So, also, you guys, I've been doing this for 30 years. So, first of all, my technology can scan, you are admitting again these frequencies. And this, I'm also able to merge. This is a whole nother talent I haven't talked about. Another high level ability that almost everyone above the fifth dimension has in all time and space, all races, all planets, they have the ability, they don't speak with a lot of words like we're doing here. They have the ability to merge. I also have the ability to completely merge with any person, place, thing, inanimate, house, tree, dog, cat, you, your mom, doesn't matter who,
Mm,
anywhere, anytime. And I can become that person inside out. So if I want to check your frequency, all I have to do is merge with you. And I'm like, oh, that's the same frequency. Because again, all digital immortal beings anywhere, whether you meet him in another galaxy, whether you meet him in the past, in the future, they have the same frequency. Everything is light, color, frequency, and sound, and it's all measurable. It's always the same. So I've been in the presence. I also have been a digital immortal being. It's not my primary soul note right now. But so, of course, I'm about 50 different things that I recognize. Of course, I'm going to immediately and easily recognize that frequency in someone else because it's inside me. It's a
right,
resonance, all resonance.
right,
So but
right.
I was using my technology, and I also recognize it in you. Again, part of that
I
connection, that
love
easy
that.
conversation is because you and I,
I'm sorry, can you say that again? You cut out a little bit.
we probably know each other in, we probably met each other in other races, other lives,
What?
you know,
Imagine? Well, now I'm gonna start imagining that. Not imagining, but trying to but yeah. So that would see, and that's what I mean. Now, I always said this. Now, it seemed like consciousness, right? Now, consciousness seems to be at the center of everything.
mm,
Um, Consciousness is maybe even mistaken for our soul. Our soul is not. It's not soul. Our essence is our consciousness, right? Or at least maybe this. I'm gonna throw something at you. This is my perspective.
sure,
Um, so I want to see how you feel about it. And we're the body, the biological body may die, right? It has a lifespan until we can solve the cell decay issue.
right,
Then it has a ticking time, and cells degenerate and we lose this biological body. But much like a radio, if I were to smash up the radio, the signal is still coming through, right? Kiss 108 or whatever your local, pop
right.
station is still coming through. The radio, the receiver is broken.
Mhm,
It's dead,
mhm.
right? So we are mere receivers, right? And we have that, you know, we you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Total sense. Because just
Okay.
because you smash to the receiver, lose the body, Kiss 108 still exists and is still broadcasting.
Yes, exactly. So that's kind of what I always thought about consciousness, is that it is eternal, and therefore there must be an afterlife, because we know that there is just too much, say what you want about God. I'm not really like super sold on that idea of there being a big white bearded guy in the sky. Just, my opinion. But I think maybe the world's religions all have a little piece of the puzzle, and we need to step back and kind of, you know, like you said, planted. A lot of it's Could it be planted? That would be the biggest curveball I ever saw coming, was if it were planted. So I would love to talk to you more about that. But you know, all these religions have the same kind of fundamental course, right? Live a good life, go to heaven, or go to this place, or live out eternity, or recycle. So there are a lot of commonalities, yet we fight wars, and innocent people lose their lives in the name of God, and it just seems very small on the cosmic scale of things. So if there are these ET races and there is this prime directive, um, when is enough enough?
Well, and not everybody obeys the Prime Directive, and the Galactic Federation is the top of the food chain in what you guys would call government over this game or Earth. And so they go against their, a lot of times they're about conquering. Right now, the Galactic Federation, uh, there's 500,000 planets, realm, ships, part of the Galactic Federation. And this is a game realm that they created to hold in the Draco. So it's their game realm right now. And so here's the thing that I was just talking to a friend about this right before the show, oddly enough, not believing in coincidence, said, here's my frustration. I got my these pieces together, and now I feel like I'm standing alone in a vacuum saying, am I supposed to save the world by myself? Because here's the thing, the Galactic Federation uses it as an excuse that you guys don't ask for anything different. You don't say we want to go to the 5th dimension, 7th dimension, 12th dimension. We want a higher level game. We don't want wars. We don't want to be ruled by the cabal and the Draco. And you have some positive ET races running this. We want happiness. We want whatever we want. We want healing. We want the med beds. We want a happy society, for the most part. We don't ask for that. We just sit under the oppressors. So they say you must like being oppressed. There's a story. People say, well, why don't we get pulled out when we're without having to kill ourselves? I was waiting for myself to unfreeze. They say, why don't they pull us out? If you beg your soul families to pull you out, or beg the Galactic Federation, or whatever federation, there's multiple federations, planetary federation, whatever, to pull you out. But there's a story that they tell about this guy in World War II, and this is supposedly real. He was crawling through the trenches, crawling over dead bodies, like raining, mud, bleeding, dying,
Right.
being shot at,
Gunshots. Yeah.
all of it. And he said, get me out of here. He just yelled that out just randomly. So guess what? The Galactic Federation actually said, oh, this poor guy, we're going to pull him out. Pull him out. And he's standing before whatever the board is, or the beings of the Galactic Federation, whatever races they were that decided to pull him out. And he's standing before them in another place, not here. And he says, what the F did you just do? Put me back. Be here.
After
I don't
crying out,
out. Because
after
it's a game. We want to play the game. We're infinite beings of ultimate power. We're the gods and the goddesses and the superheroes. We're limitless, eternal, all powerful beings. You want to see God? Go get a mirror. That's who you are.
yes.
You want to play the game. You want to grow. You want to expand. You want the challenges. And guess what you want more than that? You want the contrast. You want to have these lives where you're crawling through the trenches. And then guess what? When you die, you want to go to Venus and hang out on the tropical paradise island hotels and drink pina coladas. The contrast. Have you guys ever had a really crappy time in your life? I had 43 years of hell. Do you know how amazing every day is for me? Because I had 43 years that weren't that great. Now every day is so juicy. It's the contrast. It wouldn't be as
Mhm.
juicy life. And it's the same down here, you guys. A lot of us chose to come here. A lot of us, just like you guys pull out Call of Duty, this is a hell realm game. We want to play. We want the challenges. We want to figure it
Yeah.
out. We want to remember. We're memory wiped. We want to remember who we are.
Yeah, and I think we come here with a goal, to learn and
Yeah, definitely.
experience.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to learn and experience, to fall in love,
that's all of it. Yeah,
feel feel that emotion,
yeah. I
to
agree.
suffer, to because
All of
what defines the human, uh the human essence other than suffering, right? Suffering and but
Yeah,
also because if you don't suffer, you can never prosper. You can never you can't love without ever being heartbroken, right?
that's right.
Because there's a yin and yang to this whole thing and it's a beautiful thing and we've been given this what I call utopia, right? This planet, this utopia of of amongst the stars, there's only, a limited percentage of perfect planets. And we, by happen, maybe we don't have the most perfect planet, but we have a very, very diverse set of life here, right? We've been given this beautiful, beautiful rock. And yet, all of us, all we want to think about is, um, what the Kardashians are wearing on Tuesday's gala at Tuesday's gala, and it's like everyone's so distracted, A- and
That's
and
it. Yep.
and I think there's a lack of spirituality, or uh, there's something wrong in our society right now. And I asked you the questions earlier about the flood because could it happen again where they just said
Yeah.
no more of this?
Reset. Reset. I don't think we need to go there. I think we're at a pivotal point where people are waking up and we can ask and create by our being, by who we're being, even just by our frequency and being awake. I think we can create and choose something different to where we bring up the collective. Actually, one the level of you or I tie actually brings up 100,000 unawake people of lower frequency. 100,000. So, the higher you go, the more expansive you are, the more connected you are. We are bringing up the collective. We're actually, my information, we're at 4.3 dimension right now. We're not in the third dimension anymore. And that's why I don't believe the veil is becoming thinner and people are seeing, more ghosts and more beings and more dogmen, more Sasquatch and more ships. I believe actually their abilities are coming up online because their frequency is rising. That the all the creatures and all the beings and all the ships were always there. We're coming up into and where we can start connecting and seeing.
Seeing so we are essentially raising our resonant frequency to this place where we no longer we have the ability to see these things. It's almost
Right.
like, as you develop a telescope, right? First we had the Hubble and now the James Webb, which sees even more, right? So it's like in a very black and white way. That's
Yeah, sure.
that's
Exactly.
yeah. So I think that's beautiful. So I want to talk finally about these ET races. Now, some of the ones that we know are the Greys, the Reptilians, the Nordics, the the God. I'm just gonna keep going, but how how many of these are real? How many of these are misidentified as each other? And what's really happening, who has the good motives, the bad motives, because listen, I think there is a difference between being indifferent and being malevolent.
Oh, there is. I mean, I don't think the Galactic Federation or a lot of the federations are indifferent. I think they're malevolent. I think a conquering federation whose goal is to conquer planets, and when new planets are created or new places are created, and there's an infant society or civilization, and then they send in mercenaries, problem solution. I think that's a problem. So even and realize when I say Galactic Federation, that's thousands of races what we would consider benevolent, like Palladian, which isn't true. There's very, very many negative Palladians. We have to stop. You don't want to be as a race. You don't want to say, oh, you're a Caucasian man. You think like this and you act like this. You don't want that put on you. But we do that to these races. We're like, all Palladians are good. All Dracos are bad. No. I mean,
Right.
most of you are living in Draco bloodlines, first of all. So I'd be careful slinging around insults to the Dracos. Dracos have alliances. Do you know the Dracos are number one in technology in this galaxy? I mean, so I mean, I think that's one reason why I'm so great at technology. I've been Draco. I have a relationship with the Dracos. They run that. I think I'm allowed to get away with a lot that a lot of people aren't allowed to get away with. You guys don't understand, and I'm not saying this to brag, and with me, you would understand and be shocked by what they allow me to get away with. Most people aren't allowed to go on talk shows. Yeah, they might interfere, the military might interfere, other groups might interfere, but I'm allowed to do a lot of amazing work and help people awaken and discover who they are that I just don't think I could do if I was, just Palladian or just, an innocent little supposed ET. But I think we have to start thinking not just globally, which we do have to start thinking, but intergalactically. You guys
Mm.
are same all you want, and a much better experience as you expand your mind. So a lot of these races are misidentified. There are Okay, so the dinosaurians are reptilians. The Dracos I consider reptilians, but they're all different. They all look very different. They all act very different. The serpent beings I consider reptilian. I consider a lot of the mantis. We know our insectoid. Like, there's just a lot of races that interact with us a lot, and the mantis interact with this game a lot that we don't know. And then we lump angels all together. I call them angels, the L's. Um, and they're not. There's the seraphim, which are much more like your biblical angels, but not like the Bible says. And then you have the bird tribe, which went to a lot of the ancient cultures and basically just had wings and were worshipped just because they flew. So there's just all this mixing of races. Everything that has wings is a blue avian or an angel, and it's just not true. There's just hundreds and hundreds of thousands of races, and this is an open source game, video game. So any being, any ET race, positive, negative, or neutral, as you would say, can reach here with this reality, positive or negative. So I think it's time we start, you know, understanding and having stronger relationships with these races and using it to our advantage and enlist their help to get kind of this world on a different track, in my opinion. But yeah, definitely a lot of confusion. Even the Alcyon Palladians are so different from, uh, like the Palladians that you guys always hear about. And there are negative Palladians as well, whole races of really dark Palladians. So it's just really interesting.
So do you think it is a bad thing when someone like Dr. Greer, um, who has a very large following, let's put it that way, goes out there and says that every ET race is humble, kind, and peaceful?
You know what, Ty, if I got a paycheck from the agency, because it's all the same agency, I'd say that too. If you want to pay me a couple $1 million a year, I'll probably say whatever you
Ah,
I Dr. Stephen Greer told a engineer who's in the daytime soul projects, goes through jump gates, meets with ETs. Dr. Stephen Greer, I don't know how he knows who I am. I have my ideas, but he told my friend, do not speak to me, that I am dangerous. So yeah, I've attracted the attention of Stephen Greer. And I know because my ex-fiance is in Homeland, I know who a lot of these people work for. I'm not going to do it because I'll get so much crap for it. I could give you a list of names that would blow your mind that are just giving such smidgens of truth. I'm not saying they're totally harmful, but they're giving you guys like such shit tons of false information. It's absolutely ludicrous. I am telling you, there are as many negative races as positive races. I'd say it's 50-50. I say that's the truth through all galaxies, all timelines, past, present, future. I'd say it's pretty much 50-50 because we love to fight. You love to fight. Ty, you've been a super soldier for trillions of years. I love to fight. I've been a super soldier. You work for the agencies. I work for the agencies. You work for the corporations. I work for the corporations. The whole astral's filled with fighting just for the sake of war games with no purpose whatsoever. So everything outside of the all, it's all creation. It's all a game, really. I mean, I call this a game realm, but really everything is created. The number one rule of this reality, past, present, future, any place you guys ever find yourself, you're what I call fire creation. You can recreate, outcreate, uncreate. We aren't taught that, right? We aren't taught we can go back, clear our past, clear our genetic line, rewrite your freaking childhood that you guys love to wallow in and, be victims about, or your teenage years, or your divorce. Like, there's so much we're not taught, but we have these talking heads. I will never have. Ty, you will never see me with the following he has. I think I'm more entertaining. I think I have better stories. And
I
I
would
think I
say so.
and I mean, no disrespect, I'll probably get a weird knock on my door or phone call for this. But yeah, I know I don't want to degrade everything, because you know what? He's done some good things. You know what I do
He
agree with?
has.
He's opened up. I agree with communication with the ETs. He's opened up a whole world about communication with the ETs, right, Ty? I agree with that. I'll back that. But it's the false information that can hurt you too. If you
Yes.
astral surgery and implanting you and putting thoughts in your head and distracting you and siphoning your psychic abilities and siphoning your life force energy, and you die at 50 because you bought into the wrong race or the wrong being or the wrong group. That's a problem. It does. What we believe can hurt us. And so that's why they have these people out. They don't want you to know how powerful you are. They're putting, even Stephen, if you really listen to him and sit in a couple of his things, we're the weak race looking up into the skies, attempting contact. Let's download an app and attempt contact and play some tones. You don't have to do that. I mean, all you have to do is, if you know who your soul family is, we get picked up by our positive soul family. You can ask me to be taken out of you guys to be healed. Stephen Greer's not
I
telling you that,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I want to be. Like I want to be awoken in the middle of the night, and I want to be I'm gonna be and I'll be open about it. I'll be scared at first. Give me a couple seconds to adjust, and then let's go for a ride. I'm on it. You need some blood work? I'll give you that. Other stuff? I'll give you that too. No forceful stuff though. But I want to be able to remember. And that's my only circumstances. I want to be able to remember and to be able to talk
Right,
about it. Um, um,
right.
but 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 you you even mentioned it, um, that okay. Do you think that people are paying Stephen Greer?
I know they are.
Okay, because he claims to be a completely self-funded, that he turned down billions of dollars from the military, um, for his
He did, from the
C5.
military. From the
Yeah,
military, keyword military.
right.
Corporation. Ask him. I wonder what he'd say if someone pegged him directly with the word corporation. He'd probably lie, but you could probably read it in him. It would probably take him aback if you said,
It
has
would
any.
throw him off a little
That's what I
bit,
mean. I think
right?
you could read it. Corporation or the agency. I would go with corporation because he's paid by both the and the agencies, which are, it's kind of all the same system, just different branches. So he may be telling the truth, Ty. That's probably how he's getting around it. He probably did turn down from the military.
Yeah, and the
And
thing
what are we
is,
talking about? Are we talking about the daytime military or the nighttime, the black ops military? We're talking about the daytime military. There's little loopholes that he could be totally telling the truth, but not telling you anything at all.
absolutely. I just find it really weird that, a guy who is so hell bent, the 2001 Disclosure Project was something amazing. It was amazing, you know, to get all those people together. To Disclosure Project, like it would never, it had never been done before. And, unfortunately, 9/11 happened only a couple months later. So, it was kind of all shelved, really, in lieu of the tragedy. But he started so pure, and like somewhere along the lines, like he clearly stopped his car at Money Making Avenue and just, you know, emergency brake and started doing it. And there's these other talking heads in the news now. Um, I won't name them. I know who they are. Are
Right.
there any others out there that we need to be worried about listening to?
I mean, pretty much anyone that has millions and millions and millions of followers. I can't think of his name. Jason. Do you know who I'm talking about? Jason, big consciousness guy. Jason. I can't think of his
Jason.
last name. I have an A in it. I'm not sure, but he's also paid by them. Um, if I think of it, I'll send it to you, or I'll find
I'm
it.
sorry. So
Um,
Jason, you said Jason, you cut off a little. So what?
No, I don't know what his last name is. I can't think. I think his last name starts with an A, but he's really big. He's consciousness disclosure ET. A lot of Here's the thing. It's not even the people that are the paid and the controlled opposition I have an issue with. It's the whole consciousness movement. We only know what we know. So at one, you might watch something from 8 years ago, and I'm not talking about this because I didn't know this. I didn't have memory of it. I hadn't expanded or progressed, just like you. After this conversation, you're gonna know a whole bunch of things you didn't know, even about yourself. But so we only know what we
Yeah.
know. So I don't think everybody in the industry that's not speaking whole truth or not speaking maybe they're only speaking what they know. So there's a lot of people. There's a woman out there, I'm not going to name her name, but she's on all the summits. She's like, I'm arcturian, I speak for the arcturians. Well, what's hilarious about her is she's about 60 beings, and yes, she's arcturian, and so am I, but she doesn't even have the
You were rolling.
I guess I didn't want me to talk about that. my
Well,
my whole point about that, without continuing that rant, is we only know what we know. So I just think we just need more people to remember who they are and start speaking about the intergalactic community in a very real, tangible way. Help teach us how to remember, help teach us how to connect, teach us about what's possible. That is going to start raising the collective and changing the world around you as you guys are seeing it for the positive. Um, and just stop playing these games that were these small, helpless. Help us, because it's not true. We knew what we were doing. As you mentioned, Ty, this place is extremely popular. There's a waiting list to play this game. People pay in our currency billions and billions and billions of dollars. They're projected from pods into this game, their consciousness. So a lot of the beings that you interact with may not even have organic, even aspects of souls or spirits. They just have a projected consciousness, as you were talking about. It gets really complicated, but we're not taught any of this stuff. And I think we need to. I think we need to understand, how can you win a game or enjoy your life if you don't understand where you're living? How can you go on and after death if you don't understand intergalactic, endless community? I don't think you can. And so there's just a lot. There's a lot to talk.
I agree. And I I want to I want to go into the Galactic Federation one last time before we wrap up, and I can't wait to. Well, I'll talk to you after the show, but um, this federation, the Galactic Federation, the one that maybe oversees Earth and
Right.
its protection. Now, I know we can't count on them, or count on anyone aside from ourselves when it comes to like a nuclear event. Um, I just had Stephen Bassett on the show, and he's pretty convinced that due to our southern border being open, um, and everything that's escalating in the world, that there there may be a nuclear event in our future, like the next 9/11, um, and it could really table disclosure. But the real
Good.
problem is, would it lead to World War III? And World War III, as we all know, it would be a nuclear war, or if nuclear, if nuclear was the start, nuclear is going to be the end of the human race. At that point, would they step in?
They will not step in.
That's See, that's
I don't I
haunting.
don't I don't believe they will step in. However, I will share this. There was a well, I don't want to say the word. There was a manufacturer of drugs that you inject in the body in North Carolina, major drug company, that they were kind of gearing up for the next round of you know what and you know what, and they
Mm,
had all the know what's in this huge warehouse. Well, and you guys can look this up in the news. Well, there was a race. The lion race actually violated the Galactic Federation's prime directive, and they took that out. That was taken at council meetings. They were reprimanded for it. And in my opinion, the reason that we're not sitting right now, getting ready to go back into round two of all that BS, you guys know what I'm talking about, is because they strategically took out the largest collection of that, that was ready to go for round two of that. So when it's not just the Galactic Federation, these races are individuals. They're run by individuals just like you and I. They have hierarchy, they vote, they interact with other races that care about Earth. There's some races that have come against Earth and they feel like they owe Earth a debt now. They have to make up. And so they will step in and they will help and they will there are positive ET races that every single day put truth, I mean, hardcore galactic truth into Google, and the Red Queen it every day. They have spiders or crawlers that go through and they remove this information. So if you are on the right time and you're researching something, you guys, you can get really lucky and get some amazing hardcore, like real galactic truth or some really juicy stuff if you're on at the right time before it's erased by the matrix computer. So we are helped, we are assisted, but really we are them. I mean, you're like 30, 40 different races. I'm 40, 50 different races. We have these contacts. We have the abilities within ourselves. There is no one and nothing the Galactic Federation has that each one of us by ourselves doesn't have. It would only take one of us to have full memory. It'd be game over. Hopefully, it'd be a positive person. We'd pull it up to 3D, make everything the way we want, fix everything, and we can all have a good time for the rest of our lives. So, um, could the Galactic, there's also different dimensions and different layers and different levels of the Galactic Federation. Because this is a game realm, you guys, it's kind of a joke. They don't see
so
this as a serious realm. This is a nothing matter. I always say to my girls and I have this thing. We say nothing matters. Everything matters because everything affects your frequency, everything affects your memory, everything affects your expansion, your abilities, your access to your abilities, everything affects the collective game realm. You could go out and murder 75,000. I'm really unpopular when I say this. I almost got kicked off coast to coast for saying this sentence.
Oh my
I
god.
said you could go. I did. Richard was like, oh, it was close. You could go out and murder 75,000 people. You guys aren't going to hell unless you believe you're going to hell. You aren't going to heaven unless you believe you're going to heaven. You can create wherever you want, go wherever you want. That's so freeing once you understand that. But
But
it
you
doesn't
will
matter.
be rep you will
Yeah,
be
in this
forced.
reality, in the game, there could be consequences. Guess what? How many generals have murdered 75,000 people and had no consequences, but have been celebrated and lauded and gifted mansions and money and women and tons, right? So it's not always
Right.
true what you're going to say, but there are game consequences. But this game, you guys, I just blinked my eyes. That's this game. Plus, your consciousness right now, including you, the people listening, we're in 1,000 other places. Like I actually have the ability to go to some of my other divisions of consciousness, my clones and different things, and tell you what I'm doing and where I am in other realms and other places. Not full access, but I have partial access. So what I'm saying is, this is just one realm of many. It really doesn't matter. You're choosing to be here because of the difficulty level, because we're memory repressed, because they upload us into the computer every night and we're memory wiped every day, because we're taken and we're trying to figure it out. And there's ships communicating. I mean, it's fun, like ships communicating,
Yeah. I mean, this
those
is
blinking lights getting your attention. That's cool. That's fun for me, guys.
yeah, so what would you say about so Prime Directive and events like the Phoenix Lights? Cuz that a whole city saw a craft, and was that
I
meant to be
agree.
was that meant to be like was that some race being like, "Hey, screw the Prime Directive, let's show ourselves," or we know it wasn't the military. They're not that stupid. I
No,
ruled out the military a long time
either.
ago.
I don't think the military would be doing all the secret My Lab stuff if that makes sense. I don't think they
Yeah,
would out their hand that openly, although
right.
they did fly around in Black Triangle ships openly over Virginia, West Virginia, which we saw all the time for many years. So I don't know. Sometimes they're kind of dumb. And everybody's scared
But this was this was this
seeing
was
stuff.
clearly
This is big.
extraterrestrial.
I don't know what that was. All I know is the orbit, positive race ships are shot out of orbit. They're only allowed by the Galactic Federation to come down so far into the game. So I would say that had to be a negative ET race. Um, a race that's uncloaked for some of their own reason. I don't know. I personally do not have information on that. I would love if somebody did have actual truthful information on who that was or why they did that. Um, yeah, because that's really rare. Even a lot of the
Okay.
things you guys think are airplanes, a lot of times those are small ET craft. They're not airplanes. They have similar lights as airplanes because they're smaller crafts. So a lot of times you guys are seeing drones from ETs that you think are our drones. They're not. They're ET race drones and small aircraft. One of the ways you can differentiate is you can download the flight apps. Of course, ET
Yep.
crafts are not going to show on our, but when
They're
you're
not
looking
gonna
at it,
transpond. Yeah.
they're not going to transpond. Even the agency planes have to transpond. They just transpond as NANA. If you want to know if you're on the fly list, if you have a lot of NANA planes flying over, or obviously a lot of black helicopters or military, you're on the fly list, by the way, Ty. So yeah, so that's kind of how you differentiate, help you differentiate what's a ship and what's an airplane too. And
W-
there's no such thing as stars, but we won't even go into all that.
Okay. Okay. Um. So okay. So one final thing, and again, like I said, I would love to have you back because I want to continue this
Sure.
conversation. I find this is truly fascinating. Um. If you were to give someone advice about their life and or what do you talk when you talk to someone and you tell
Hmm.
them all this stuff about them and who
Hmm.
they are, and you know I'm sure what's your advice to them, or what's your advice to people listening who are on this quest and are finding more about themselves, and um uh, uh like should you be scared, should you welcome it with open arms? How should you go about the phenomena um on a basis?
I love that.
um
First of all, I mean, I would share with anyone who has an eternal spirit, which there are empty beings and soulless beings. So I'm not speaking probably to everybody. But if you have an eternal spirit, you're a limitless, eternal, all powerful being. What does a limitless, eternal, all powerful being need protection from? Who, an all powerful being, need protection from? You guys don't need protection from anybody. There is to fear. Really, what you don't know is probably hurting more than what you will find out. So many things clicked into my life and actually started building this wholeness and this expansion. When I found out this stuff, it wasn't scary. When I found out I was a super soldier, I'm like, oh, you just explained like 85,000 things in my life, you know?
That's what
So
I'm saying. It made so much
think
sense.
stuff is scary, but it's not. But you know what you need to do? Nature's very sentient, and nature always there's a lot to going alone carefully, wisely into nature and connecting. You guys need to connect yourself. You need to stop paying. I hate to say people like me. I'm not saying there aren't, it's not good to have assistants or teachers, but you guys have this memory. Your every single thing you guys ever wanted to know about anything is this close. It's literally in your energy field right against your body. They have technology that blocks you from remembering. I encourage, don't take mushrooms, don't go to ayahuasca, connect directly. And when we scan people, the soul, the spirit, the body at once, time, keyword alone, keyword in silence. Now you can interpret that as meditation, but it doesn't have to be. You can literally sit there, try to empty your mind, and stare at the wall. Once you get to the point, for about 5, 6, 7 years, I've had a silent mind. Once you hit silent mind frequency, voice to skull doesn't work. You recognize it. Devious negative ETs don't work. Psychic timeline enemies, which we haven't talked about, don't work. Thought projection,
Mm.
empty culture doesn't work. So a silent mind is really important. But even if you don't have a silent mind, you have a knowing and you have a memory. And you said it too, Ty, earlier, the distraction, the baby showers, the wedding showers, the Christmas presents, the shopping, the out to eat, the drinking, the Netflix,
It's
relationship.
all a
Yeah.
distraction.
Yeah. So I'm not saying don't do that. That's part of the fun of the game, as you also pointed out. What I'm saying is take some time to understand how you fit in. Why am I here? What is my purpose? Who am I through all time and space? I'm telling you, it just
Use
richens the experience. It makes it fun. It makes
yeah,
you are able
you
to speak things into existence. You are able to create your reality. If you don't like where you live, you change it. If you don't like your relationship, you change it. If you don't like your job, you change it. And you start to understand the rules of the game. You can win the game. You can have an amazing life. You can, bring people along up with you. And it can be happily ever after. But we have to start with, where are we? What is this? How does it work? And then how do we fit into the bigger picture? That's my opinion.
and that was beautifully said. Beautifully said. And I think the problem with most people is they don't understand, like, it's not one or the other. You don't just go down the path of this us
Right.
and not pay your taxes,
No,
right?
no. Right.
That's not what this is.
Right.
We understand, like, use the technology, like my editing, I'm in a temporary studio. My editing computer's right here, right? We use this technology to use your computer to research and to make yourself smarter. Use the internet instead of trolling on Facebook about whatever, or on Twitter, attacking your an actor because they did a bad job in a movie you watched yesterday. Use these tools to further your own knowledge, and your and go and find why you're here. Use it as a tool. Use these as tools to find your purpose. Talk to people like Kimberly, who can give you insight into what that may be. Talk to everybody. That's why I do the show. I don't to be honest, I don't do the show because I think it's going to be famous one day.
Mhm.
I hope it will. I really do. I really, 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 really do. Because I think we do something special here. But I don't do it because of that notion. I do it because I'm on my journey and I want to talk to people like you, um, who give me more insight as to my own experiences. And I get to share those with people like you. You get to share yours. And I hope the audience gets to take something away from it and go on their own journey. Someone once told me that um, we're both in a room. I tell you it's raining outside. Do you go on my word? No. You open the window curtain and you see that it's raining outside. That's a direct apprehension, right? I told you the answer. The answer was real. 1 plus 1 does equal 2. But until you figure out how 1 + 1 = 2, that's
Yeah,
when you have your own direct apprehension. So
I
my
agree.
show is a way to pose the questions for the audience to then have their own direct apprehension. So that's 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 my goal. And I hope everyone listening really appreciates that, because I do my hardest. I try my hardest, and apparently I'm a super soldier. So I mean, listen, I got a lot on my plate, guys. I mean, Jesus. Um,
You do.
I get taken in the middle of the night. I'm 60 species. I'm a super soldier. I work, a day job, which I hope to get rid of one day soon, and the podcast. So I'm a busy guy. Throw me some money. Throw me, support the show. Let's get this thing up to the level of Jimmy Church and Stephen Greer, so we can make change at a very, very high level. Because I will never sell out, ever, 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 under no circumstance. Um, and like I said, I'll always have Kimberly uh, uh, emailing me to make sure I don't sell out. So,
That's
Kim, Kim, Kimberly, where can people find you on social media, and where can they continue the conversation? All of our links are going to be in the description below for everybody. But all the members, unfortunately, they're the they're not there yet. So,
right.
where can people find you?
Yeah, secrettoeverything.com is my website. There's a contact site on there. You can write support at kimberlymcgeorge.com as well. If you have any questions, Serene Wellness on Twitter, Kimberly McGeorge, Secret to Everything on YouTube. Basically, everything's branded. You can just type my name and you can find me. And you'll have my links or I'll send them to you or whatever.
Yeah, and this was an amazing conversation. I really, really, really had a lot of fun.
Questions. Thank you.
Yeah, I
Appreciate it.
wasn't expecting to get my mind blown a couple times there. But, I mean, listen, if what you're saying is true, and again, I, I, the way I see it is this: if somebody's lying to me, and I'm not saying you are. Again, please don't take this like I'm calling you
Mhm.
out. If someone is
No, you're fine.
lying on the show about their experiences, it doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt me. I mean, yeah, I might get some flack, like if someone's ever ousted and I had them on, but I mean, the only one you're really hurting by lying is yourself. So, guys, these experiences are real. They are out there. Um, and like I said earlier, truth is often
Yeah.
scarier than fiction, but also realer, like, than any real black and white thing that you've been taught before. So, like I said, if even 50% of what you talked about tonight is 100% accurate, then the implications are tremendous. And what David Grush is talking about and what Congress is talking about, that is barely scratching the surface.
That's right.
So we need more people like you out there, Kimberly. We really do.
I always say, Ty,
Doctor.
it's okay. You don't have to use that. But I always say my shows will age really well. I may get a lot of BS for it now, but I mean that's what a way shower is. That's what someone who goes before is, and I'm used
Right.
to it.
Right.
5 years from now, you're gonna be like, "This is old news. What you talking about? That's a boring show. Like we know all this. It'll
Right.
age
And we'll
well.
be
You'll see."
Yes, and you know what? We always have that to look forward to, because we will see. And I truly think it's happening in our lifetime. Are you? I'm 30. I'm not going to ask you your age. Number one rule for women is don't ask their age or weight or any of that. So
Right.
I'm not going to ask you your age, but I think in our lifetime we will get
I agree.
a confirmation by the US government that that we are not alone in the universe. And it's inevitable. It's just a matter of time. And I think you know it too. And I think everyone knows it. And I think it's but a matter of circumstance at this point, because too many people are waking up. Too many people have access to this technology that we were gratefully given. Um, um, the ability for the average podcaster really like shook up mainstream media and
Yeah.
mainstream. Look at Tucker Carlson. I don't agree with him on his politics, but he's getting more views on Twitter or X now. I can't get used to that, than he did on Fox News. I mean,
True.
what? What? It's crazy. So, Kimberly, thank you for being on the show. Everyone
You.
listening, make sure to leave a like, share, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble. And then if you're listening on all the podcast platforms, leave a review. It's free. What are you waiting for? It's free. Help support us. Also, if you want to take a step further, go and become a member on our Patreon or on YouTube. It has switched. I misspoke earlier. So on Patreon or on YouTube, it's the same benefits all across one platform, all across platforms. So it will link up, and you'll have access to the YouTube stuff as well as Patreon, and vice versa, if that makes sense. But same benefits, same stuff. So with that being said, tremendous show tonight, guys. I can't wait to see what the future holds, and I can't wait to see what your future holds. Let us know in the comments what you thought of tonight's show, and continue the conversation with Kimberly McGeorge. If anyone, any podcasters out there listening, get in touch with her or talk to me. I can get you in touch, and we'll get her on your show, and she's amazing. So thank you, Kimberly.